Hey, everybody, and welcome to the NintendoFuse Podcast. This is episode 166, entitled SNES Online Leaks. I'm your host, Steve, and I am joined by our regular podcast crew of Barry. How's it going, Barry?
Hey, it's going. I'll just put that. It's going.
Going. All right, well, it's better than not going at all. And we're also joined by Greg. Hey, Greg.
Hi, everyone.
And
Barry's new background.
Is it going?
Yeah, it's going. I'm actually off to Omaha tomorrow, so
nice. How's is like most of the country is either under snow, like feet of snow, or getting ready to be under feet of snow. How's that going you guys' direction?
I think we have about like 6 to 8 inches up right here in Chicago. So
nice. How's Jersey?
For us, they were like, oh my God, this weekend we're gonna get 2 storms. We were prepared. Everyone was going crazy. The first one hit, and we got a light dusting that was gone that day because it was in the 40s. And then Sunday morning we got more snow, and we woke up and it was pouring raining, because again it was in the 40s. However, Sunday it started like at 46 and it ended at 9 degrees. So everything flash froze, and right now outside it's probably about 4 degrees. And tomorrow is also gonna be like that. So everything is just a sheet of ice. So there's no snow. We can see our lawn and everything, but everything is a sheet of ice.
Right. You'd rather probably snow instead of all that. No.
You know why? Because at least I didn't have to shovel.
Oh, well.
I didn't have to shovel.
That's true, I guess. That's true.
We have the salt in it. I'm sure the roads are very fun.
Oh yeah, the roads are terrible. But, well, actually, the roads aren't too bad because, like you know, when you're in an area that's used to getting snow, they're used to preparing for it. Like if this hit Florida, they would all die. Like everyone would just die. 4 degrees, they wouldn't survive it.
But yet the people around here at least still don't know how to drive in the snow. It's like
I think it's like a thing. Like every year, like those like 9 months between the last snow of the last year and the first snow of the next year, people forget how to drive in it. Like no matter where you are, all of a sudden like first snow hits and like there's cars everywhere.
So let's go like 20 over the speed limit and crash into other cars and like
it's like bumper pool, but bumper cars.
We should start a version of bumper cars.
Right.
How about you, Steve? You have snow out there?
We have no snow. No, like none at all. It's currently 39, but earlier today it was in the 50s, and yeah, northern Colorado. Yeah. Meanwhile, you'd think that we'd have snow everywhere, but no, not so much. Apparently, there's a winter storm warning coming in. South of Denver is supposed to get hit, but we may get 3 inches. So we'll see. And it'd probably be gone then, in the afternoon. So we'll see how that goes.
The crazy thing is like today and tomorrow, like super cold. And then we're supposed to get a storm in for Wednesday and Thursday, but it's going to be in the 40s again. So it's going to go from like 10, 20 degrees up to 40. So it's going to be rain, which I'm happy with, but I don't like the up, down, up, down. I'd rather be consistent.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, it is it's not September. It's January. It's January 21st. This is a couple big things are happening right now. Number one is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We do want to, typically we stay away from like politic kind of things here on the NintendoFuse podcast because we want to be, as away from that as possible, but a guy that did stand for a lot of unity and things like that. And we've talked in previous podcasts that I think gaming is one of those things that does bring people together across racial barriers and all the different barriers that tend to separate us in society. Gaming is one of those things that we can kind of unify around. And I just wanted to acknowledge that we are recording on Martin Luther King Jr. today and see if you guys had any comments to share around that at all, or at least just wanted to acknowledge it before we move on and talk more about video games.
I think this country, by this country I'm talking of the USA, for those outside of the country listening, is so politically charged right now, and it's literally walking on eggshells. Like you can't walk outside with certain pieces, like articles of clothing on, without getting harassed. You can't say certain things without getting harassed in public, online, anywhere. Everybody, it's polarizing how split this country has become. It is almost Civil War era United States again, and it is terrible. And I think what you said, Steve, is right about gaming. Gaming is a unified thing for the most part. It should be a unified thing. Unfortunately, gaming isn't always either. People will pick their sides. Fanboys will raise their flags and attack others. And I think this country could learn, and this whole world could learn something from, Martin Luther King and about unity and about working together. Because you know what? Life is short. We're on here. We're on the same globe that's spinning in space. Let's just try and get along. Let's just try to, be nice to one another. Let's just try to enjoy games. And you know what? If someone's enjoying a game you don't like, let them enjoy it. They're enjoying it. I'm sure you're enjoying a game that someone else doesn't like. Just have fun. There are bad games, there are good games. There are games that are so bad they're good, and so good they're bad. Just have fun. Life is a game in itself, and let's just enjoy.
And life is just completely subjective. Someone can like it, someone's going to hate it. You have to know what. I mean, you just can't be sticking too much for the side that you think something is, because there's always that somebody else that doesn't think the same way that you do. So
yeah,
it's about respecting one another's opinions and thoughts and everything, and not hating on each other.
Right. Yeah. I think one of the coolest things that I think I've talked about this before, and we have chatted about this before. One of the coolest opportunities is for us to go to the gaming events, and we see it at PAX, we've seen it at Play NYC, we've seen it at E3 even. A lot of those times where we just get gamers coming together, and it's so cool to as we come from all these different backgrounds, and there's so many things that are separating us, but when we can come around one unifying hobby like video games, it's a really cool thing, and we need to focus more on that and those things that do bring us together as a society than those things that separate us. So Jakester, the Knight of Darkness, hello in chat, saying hello to us as well. Two other things that we do want to acknowledge. Number one, our previous podcast host Hassan's birthday was yesterday, so happy belated birthday, Hassan. And also today is the 20th anniversary of the Smash Brothers series. So happy anniversary, Smash Brothers, 6 games over 20 years. You guys know that we are huge fans of the Smash Brothers series here on NintendoFuse, as are so many other people. What's your biggest Smash Brothers memory, guys? Like what big comes to mind when you're thinking Smash Brothers? Barry, you want to go first? I'm putting you in the spot.
Yeah, when the first Smash came out, I was in high school, so I didn't have a lot of money. And I had a 64. I didn't get it. I didn't get the original Smash. My best friend did. So I went over to his place and we played it, and I loved it. So when shortly thereafter the GameCube came out, I was starting college, and I was like, you know what? Melee's right around the corner. I asked, I said, can I get it as an late birthday present? My parents said, yeah. So I got it, and my memory is mainly when I got Melee. It was the first one I owned, so I was like, oh, I love playing at my friend's house. Now I got it to own. And just sitting in my dorm room and just trying to do all the events, and Melee had those weird things where you had the awards at the end, and you had to get all the awards, and trying to do, everyone's online in the infancy of the internet. How do we do this? And it just became a challenge to try to do everything you could in that, and leaving it on to get Mewtwo. And even though I'm not a Melee fanatic, my best memories are there because it was the first one I actually owned, and the first one I really was able to sink time into unlocking everything, which has become a tradition ever since Melee, of unlocking everything, including 64. When I finally got my copy of 64, I went back and unlocked everything there too myself.
Cool. How about you, Greg?
This is definitely more one of my favorite memories. Is definitely tied to the Nintendo 64 version. I still will remember always. It was, I think, a July 3rd, one of the summers, after the game was out, was me, my brother, my cousin, and my good friend Steve. We are all sitting, not you, Steve, unfortunately. I wish, but yeah, we were all playing Super Smash Bros. 64, and then my friend Steve had hit my cousin Tony with the beam sword or the baseball bat and got an instant KO, and he's like, "Ha, I got you!" And then my cousin just took his arm and just knocked him back, and the chair fell backwards and he landed on the ground behind. It was just one a moment of like pure like, I got you. And, like we're very competitive. We're trying to like KO each other, and he was like so proud because my cousin was so cheap with Captain Falcon, and I was like really good with Yoshi, and my friend Steve was good with Link, and brother John still loves Jigglypuff. So it was just one of those awesome like moment matches. That was just everything just colliding.
Gotta love when Smash turns to physical violence.
Right. When it's not enough just to play on
like
the TV.
The commercial. That's how it's advertised.
Yeah,
remember?
it was.
There you go. There you go. All you needed was some costumes. Jakester in the chat says his memories come from Brawl, playing as the trainer so much. My memories also come from Brawl, actually. When I was back living in New Hampshire, my college roommate, who I talked about on our last podcast, how we played a lot of both the 64 version and Brawl, or Melee, a lot in college. And so he was my roommate in college, and then a few years later we ended up rooming together. Before I got married, we were rooming again together out in New Hampshire, and there was a Nintendo was touring at the time and doing the Brawl tour. Like you could play in a giant tournament before the game actually came out. And so we traveled in a snowstorm of all things, this huge snowstorm down to Worcester, Massachusetts, and I played in a tournament down there, and I got into the second round. So I didn't do too well, but it was cool just to play the game early, but also it was my first ever tournament to be a part of one of those, and it was just a fun memory, and traveling down there, risking our lives to play Smash Brothers Brawl early, because the roads were awful. It was almost blizzard conditions, and we were traveling, about a couple hours out of our way just to play Brawl early. But we survived, and I made it to second round. So yeah, I guess I'm better than
Did you
one
buy
person.
the game when it came out afterwards? Or you're like, oh, I liked it so much, I got to get it.
Oh yeah. That was another friend of mine. We went to the GameStop. They were at the local GameStop, and they were doing a tournament again. So I got to play the game at least a few hours early that time in another tournament, and didn't make it very far, but got the game right away, and rushed home to play it, and stayed up really late and everything. So it was. Smash Brothers is definitely has a good place in my heart, and I was thankful that I think the 3DS and the Wii U version I had to get the early review copy of the code, and so I didn't have to worry about or actually no, it was the first physical copy, I think. But anyway, I got it early, so I didn't have to worry about staying up late those nights.
Yeah, lucky you. Kept tossing. I remember when the Wii U version came out, and then if you go back to those early podcasts, all it is Steve taunting us. I'm playing it and you're not, and I can't talk about it.
Oh, those are the days when we actually got stuff, because I remember I got Mario Kart early too, and we tried to do some like streaming things on there, and it didn't really turn out well. But yeah, so.
I did have one last memory. I don't know why I picked that other one over this one, but my most treasured memory, actually even more so than my previous story, this one doesn't involve violence. So
not worth it. No.
The day was like one of the days in the middle of E3 in 2014. Went to Best Buy to demo Super Smash Brothers for Wii U. I was waiting in the really long line. Got to enjoy it like a match. It was one of the last ones there, like right as Best Buy was closing. Got my match in, and then I came home, and then I found out that night that my wife was pregnant with our daughter Belle. So that was definitely a very happy Smash Brothers memory as well. I don't know why this one didn't trump the other one. I just probably needed more time to process other memories of Smash Brothers, but then this one just came flooding back in, and I felt like I really had to share that one.
All right, you picked the only thing that could overcome, I think, bringing Smash to real life. I guess the birth of your child, everything is pretty good, pretty big, yeah.
Greg, I went first, so you had time to think about this first off.
Yeah.
And second off, this is on recording now. This is forever stuck here in the internet, and your daughter will eventually go back and listen and be like, "Oh, Daddy picked that violent story over me," and it's forever stuck. So there's no take backs at this point.
Well, no, I still redeemed myself and got to share that wonderful memory.
It's an it's an afterthought at this point. Come on.
I was building on like the fun memory that you shared about Melee and playing with a friend, and then that was triggering me like playing like that's a normally game you play with like your friends, and that one just like really is. Both are very great memories.
You know what? That shovel's just
I'm gonna avoid. You don't have to worry about digging yourself out anymore. I'm gonna turn the attention to Ryan. Ryan Anthony's in the chat, and he says that he loved the OG Smash Brothers. It's always gonna be his favorite, and he has actually just offered up a challenge, $100 to anyone who could beat him. So there you go. Find Ryan, play him, and if you can beat him, he's gonna give you $100. So thanks for the kind words about the podcast as well. Glad to have you here, Ryan. And Jakester's jumping right in on you, Greg. So I'm just gonna bail you out and just say we're gonna move on. And speaking of the chat, we are so glad that you guys are joining us in the chat. Make sure you do kind of follow along if you're watching live. We'd love to know anything that we're talking about. We want to know your thoughts about it as well. So please throw that in the chat. And if you're listening or watching later, throw your comments down there as well. And we'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about all the news and discussion and everything as well. And we're going to move into a section we do every week about talking about what we've been playing. But before that, we also want to remind you to subscribe, follow us on social media, join our Facebook group, all those different things we want to just kind of add to our community, and just want to connect with you guys outside of our podcast that we do every other week, and all the other videos that we have on YouTube and everything, and our blog and all that stuff. We want to connect with you guys, and so be sure to reach out to us and subscribe, follow, and all that stuff. Greg, let's go to you first, and let's talk about what you've been playing lately over the last couple of weeks.
Let's see. Well, me and my daughter did do a couple more missions in Paw Patrol. I know that's like the very topic of this podcast now. It's such a wonderful game that we're still working our way through it, one mission at a time. We're on a roll, as you might say. It's a Paw Patrol catchphrase.
I'm unfamiliar, so I don't know.
Well, the name of the game is that, so
it's Paw Patrol on a roll, but that's also like their main catchphrase if you ever decide to watch that program on television. So
nice. Was she already a fan of Paw Patrol before you got the game?
Yeah. That was like one of her first favorite television shows. So like as soon as like they announced like the game, I was like, I'm probably gonna have to get this game. And I was really hoping for the physical copy, but then they only gave me the code, so it was like so hopefully we'll be recording that game chat sometime soon with her. For the flight tomorrow, I have Smash Brothers all packed up and ready to go. So I'm going to be finally continuing more into the world of Light starting tomorrow. So finally getting back on schedule after spending lots of time in Dragolia Lost and Fire Emblem Heroes. So
yeah, you guys are chatting about it ahead of time, and I know both of you have been playing Dragolia Lost like quite a bit. So in the chat, looks like Jakester's he started Torna, so we'll see how and he's calling me out too. We'll see if Jakester passes me up. He probably already has. Too many games, not enough time. Speaking of which, I'm gonna jump ahead. This right here, this is your fault, Barry. You're going next, but this is your fault. And here's the deal: I don't even have enough time. It's still in its plastic. I open the game, let alone play it. This is ridiculous. Spending money for nothing. All right, Barry, what have you been playing?
My fault. Jeez. I gave you the homework assignment of Torna. All right, that's like as a shorter game. That's like a 5 to 10 hour game tops.
True.
Like, and then I didn't say that you have to go spend money and get Pokemon Let's Go. That was all on you.
Okay, so like honesty, this is what I went in the store to get.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy it. I really like it so far. It's been really cool. It's gotten me a lot of Pokestops as I'm walking around and driving around and stuff. But so I walked in the store and I had all intentions to just get the Pokeball Plus, and then I saw the game, and initially it was in the wrong place. I thought it was just like $10 more than the ball itself. And I was like, why not? It's just $10 more. Because I was just totally out of my mind at that moment. Didn't realize that's stupid. That it's not that. It's a lot more than that. So I called the person over to get the game and everything, and she's like, "Oh, great!" And I grabbed it, and I was like, "Oh, that's different price," because she grabbed it from a different place. And at that point, I was like, I feel bad about this, and like I'm not gonna have her put it back in. And actually, I went the thing over there, and was like, I kind of want it. Barry's been telling me it's worth it. It's great and everything. I should get it for the next Switch Pokemon game and everything. And the next thing I know, I'm walking out of the store with the thing, and it's still in the plastic. So.
You know what? I would be perfectly happy if you kept that in the plastic, as long as you were playing Torna. All right, like that's not a lot to ask. That is so worth it. You already started Torna, so it's not even like you got to open it. You've already started it.
It's true.
So.
Yeah. Steve's very good at starting games but not finishing them. Yes. You have to get to know this.
That is incredibly true. So true. So true. I have started so many games and have only finished a handful.
Did you even finish Breath of the Wild?
You know what? Well, to be honest, I'm never gonna completely finish that game because there's I'm
not saying like completely.
I haven't even touched the DLC. Yeah. But
I'm just saying finish isn't like maybe beat Ganon, maybe
at least beat Ganon.
So eventually we're gonna get back to what Barry's playing. So I have this thing, and I don't understand it. I've consciously realized it not too long ago. And I realized it with Zelda, and I don't know if this is. I probably need to go get checked out sometime because it sounds like a mental thing. But I experience this with books a lot of times too. I don't like the story ending, and so like I know it's going to wrap up, and so a lot of times I'll make it to like really close to the end of things, and I dread actually crossing the finish line to end it and so honestly, the only thing I have to do in Breath of the Wild and as far as the main game is just beat Ganon, and I haven't done it yet. Like everything else is done, but I'm not there yet because I'm like I want to stretch this out a little longer. I want to experience this more and everything.
I understand that, and I'm going to tell you something that will make you very happy.
Okay.
You can play Torna, and you can actually complete Torna because the story doesn't end there. It continues in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 proper. Okay? In fact, the very last scene of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna leads directly into the proper game. So you shouldn't have that fear at all because you could just continue.
That is true. That is true. That is true. Jakester's with me, so there we go. All right. Anyhow, let's get back to Barry and what you've been playing lately.
For me, like Greg mentioned, Dragalia Lost. I've been playing a lot of that. New events, so it's kept my attention. It's kept my attention far more than I ever thought it would, and I'm just really enjoying it. Still doing Pokemon Go, although today will be the first day in a long time that I'm actually not getting a Pokestop because it's ridiculously cold out there, and I just do not want to go out in it. Just too bitter cold. But I've been doing still doing that. On the Switch front, I really haven't done much. I have been doing New Super Luigi U, like over halfway through it at this point. But I got sidetracked by Final Fantasy 14, which I've been dabbling. I've always dabbled every weekend, and I've kept up to date with. But they had the newest patch 4.5 came out. They added Blue Mage. They added a whole bunch of things, and there's stuff that I just didn't bother doing because I just didn't want to sink my teeth into it because I've been playing so many other games. But I'm like, nope, I'm doing it now. So that's really kind of recaptured me. But I am also playing Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes. I started that. That game is weird. That game is very Suda 51. I mean, you literally go to the bathroom and you pull your pants down and you sit in the toilet to save in that game. That is a legit thing, and it's weird. There's like introductions to some games are actually like live action. Like, for example, one of the stories, and it's weird, like one of the games has you doing like a Pac-Man style flip maze to get to a house, and you're tracking a killer, and the killer has killed people in each of these houses, and you get the information like, oh, in this house he, you know, murdered them all this way, and this one he lined them all up, and this one he killed the father first and watched every, like all this gruesome stuff, blood everywhere. And you're like, oh, I'm tracking this killer. But when it starts, you get this live action cutscene of this boy playing a Game and Watch, and like, oh fucker, like he's having problems, and like the killer comes in and like, let's pick a card, and like he puts all these cards on it, and like they're all losing cards. Like one's a gun, one is corkscrews, and one is like something else, and he's like, pick which one you want to die by, and the boy like cast a pick, and he's like forced to pick, and he has no choice. He picks the corkscrews, and you see like the killer take the corkscrews and literally stab and slice open the guy's neck, and you see him like fall over, and this is all live action, and then it goes to the game. I'm like, what the am I playing? Like, this is the weirdest stuff ever. Like, it's a lot of fourth wall breaking. I don't think it deserves the negativity that some people are saying about it. I think you just need to know what you're getting into. But it is quirky, it is weird, it is action oriented, and so far I've only started playing, and I'm only in the third world, the third of the 6 games. I'm enjoying it. I also finally beat Tales of Berseria on the PS4 2 years later. Not my favorite Tales of game, but definitely worth playing. I know Vesperia just came out on the Switch, so I already did it. I didn't do the Japanese stuff. I might go back to that game, but if you haven't played a Tales of game, it is a great one to start with and play it on the go. So that's pretty much it. I've been doing.
Cool. I personally have been playing, let's see, Monster. Actually, a lot of my stuff is already up in a review. Posted 2 reviews in the last couple weeks. So Monster Boy and Cursed Kingdom, played that, reviewed it. So I'll spare you a lot of my thoughts right now and just say go check out my review on our YouTube channel. Overall, I really enjoyed the game. I think it's a great platformer. Great. I think it's really cool how they bring in the different forms that you can transform into, and how they all have their pros and cons, and how you switch back and forth, and it's almost kind of like a new game each time that you get a new form, and has a little bit of that kind of Metroidvania stuff on it, but not a whole lot. So it's a cool action platformer, and brings in a lot of it's a really cool story. It's a fun, whimsical kind of story, and really enjoyed it. Also played Solar Flux, which is kind of an older game that recently, back in December, came out on Switch. Reviewed that as well, so you can check that out. It's kind of a puzzle. It's basically a puzzle game. It's in space. You're kind of trying to add this fuel to the sun, and so you just fly around, and you only have so much fuel, and you have to get around to collect all the plasma, and kind of play around with the gravity fields, and kind of swing around some other planetary objects and stuff like that to get around and do it in the fastest time, not using much fuel. It's one of those games that it's very easy to learn but hard to master, sort of thing. It's one of those 3-star kind of games as well. So each level you get rated on how well you do. But it's pretty fun. It's maybe a little bit overpriced for what you get, but if it's ever on sale, and you kind of enjoy those style of games, I'd recommend it. I also recommend I did recommend playing it in TV mode, and not in handheld mode. I didn't enjoy it at all in handheld mode because it's only touchscreen. And if you do play it on TV, be prepared. It's only Joy-Cons. You can't use the Pro Controller. I sat there for like 5 minutes going, why is this not working? And finally contacted the developers, and they're like, oh, it's only Joy-Con. I'm like, oh, well, that explains it. You should be a little more clear with that, but okay. And so I pulled up my Joy-Cons and had a great time. Also played Shift Happens, and I got a review going. That's probably going to go live actually later this week, so you can check that out. It's a weird game. It's a platformer puzzle kind of thing where it's designed for co-op play. So if you have someone you want to play with, you can play single player, but it's kind of like those like the Lego games or some of the other games where you have multiple characters and you have to switch back and forth between the two if you're playing single player. So I think it's better if you do play co-op with just one player. Unfortunately, though, the online co-op is not available on Switch. but it was available on the other systems. So that's the only downside. If I would have totally be like, hey, Greg, Barry, you wanna play with me? But unfortunately, we can't play online. So majority of the game I played, on my own, but it's doable. But I think it'd be a better experience to playing, like co-op with someone there. Quickly, I did want to mention though, I forgot this last month, or last podcast when we talked about our gaming hall and everything. My wife got me the Mario Kart Hallmark ornament, and I totally forgot to mention that last podcast. So kind of cool story. My mom planned on getting it for me, and she forgot, and she's like, "I'm so sorry, I forgot to get the ornament for you." And it's like, "Mom, it's okay. My wife got it for me, so it's no big deal." So, and I did pick up, even though I told you guys I wasn't going to do this, I spent a lot more money that I wasn't planning on doing. But I did pick up the 2 new amiibo. I got the Ridley and the Wolf amiibo lately, and I don't know why I did. I didn't see it actually, but I'm not planning on getting the Inkling, but I wasn't planning on getting those either. So,
what about the Luke Goblin?
Those were not. So I was in Best Buy, and I went in there for a completely different reason. Walked by, saw those, and the next thing I know, they were in my hands. But they didn't have those other ones though. Well,
the Luke Goblin's GameStop, and then there's the Octoling 3-pack, which was at Best Buy as well.
Okay, so yeah, those were sold out. The only 2 new ones that they had were those 2. So that's why I ended up walking away with. So if I see those, I'm in a vulnerable moment. I'll probably end up getting those as well. I just walked by. I was like, why did I whatever. I did actually. The Ridley one I was glad to get. I was happy, and I was debating back and forth, should I get Wolf or not, because I'm not that huge of a fan, but he kind of looks pretty cool, and I have the other Star Fox characters, so why not? So
meanwhile, I've been going to 2 different Targets and Walmart, and they don't have like a single amiibo there, not like anything.
So they were just on a whim. I got them, and you've actually been looking and everything, and couldn't find them at all.
Yeah, because like the wife was like, it's like, oh, you can probably you get an amiibo if they have it, and I'm like, sweet. And I'm like, nope, we don't. They only come in and then they sell out and disappear. So they don't even have like the Animal Crossing ones or like the Mario Smash one that's like everybody has. I mean, like 0 amiibos. I'm like, what the heck kind of day is this?
Nice.
Damn. That ornament you got, did you also get the other 2 from this year? There's the Link one and the Donkey Kong arcade cabinet. Also
no, I did not know those existed.
The Link one plays the Zelda theme, and the DK arcade acts like it's actually playing, and it has like the music and all that. They're from
That's
this
cool.
year at Walmart.
I have the Galaga arcade machine from a few years back. I didn't realize there was a Donkey Kong one. I might have to see if I can find that.
There's like
a
Pac-Man and a Miss Pac-Man, I think, 2 from previous years, but this year they had Donkey Kong.
That's cool. I'm gonna have to see if I can find that now.
Go to Hallmark.com. You probably can find it online.
Can you still? Okay, like they don't. It's not like eBay only now.
I don't know. It's worth checking. But there's, like I said, there's a Zelda one and the Donkey Kong arcade.
That's cool. Man, you guys have been talking a lot while we've been talking in the chat. So Mike in the chat from our team as well. He's excited about King K. Rool amiibo. I think Ryan was playing Wonder Song, extremely underrated as well. Lots of other chat going on in the chat room as well. So sorry if I didn't get to all what you guys have been talking about. Lots have been going on there. So thanks for joining in the conversation over there. Is there going to be anything been recent releases that you guys have not got a chance to play? I know, Barry, you said the new Super Mario Brothers, you've been playing the Luigi's version, and Travis Strikes Again. Are those are kind of the 2 big ones that come out the last couple of weeks?
Tales of Vesperia.
Tales of Vesperia,
yeah. Yeah, I think those are the biggest ones now for Switch.
So
at least physical.
Wasn't on my list. I'm not planning on like I said in the last podcast, not planning on getting either of those, any of those. Greg, are those kind of on your eventual list, or are you kind of going to skip out this time?
No, I've been kind of skipping out on some of the recent stuff. I haven't really gotten anything since Smash Brothers, so I try to actually play my games that I get. I don't try to like get a huge backlog and start 100 games and just never finish them. I would like to try and finish them.
Plastic like this one.
Yeah, I usually feel very guilty if I leave away stuff in plastic, but Nothing I can
Fair
can't do
enough.
about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Ryan says he just picked up Decay Tropical Freeze. He never played the Wii U version, but he's loving the Switch version. I agree. It's a great game for sure. And there's a lot of different deluxe games coming out and remakes from the Wii U. A lot of people have, there's mixed feelings out there about them, but we know that like if you, especially if you didn't pick up the Wii U versions of these games, it's great to have them on Switch for sure. So let's get into a bit of our news discussion for this podcast. There's kind of two big stories we want to tackle, and both of them have kind of been a lot in the news. Like January is one of those times of year where there's hardly anything going on really big in the life of video game news, but there's kind of been two things that have been like leaks and rumors and all this stuff recently. First thing we're going to talk about is the what looks to be the SNES online service most likely coming. I know I predicted it. We think it's probably going to happen, but there's been a lot of data mining and everything recently. Greg, tell us a little more about this, and let's see what's going on.
Yeah, so if you've been following some of the news, I guess someone data mined the NES on Switch Online app, and it actually came across two different things. The main part that was found is that it contained 4 different emulators. One is the one that is like in use for like the NES Classic. It's like the Kachi, something like that. I have no idea if that's anywhere close to pronouncing that. And then there was one like for Canoe that was used with the SNES Classic. So that kind of leads to the data miners believing that like the SNES games could be on the way. We don't know if it'll be in part of the same app, if they'll rename the app just for both NES and SNES games, or maybe they actually will release a separate app for it, but that's definitely very exciting to see. Then there were 2 other ones that have no known references. So for all we know, it could be for Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, could even be like Nintendo 64, GameCube. No one has any ideas. I didn't know what you guys were thinking about that. Did you guys follow this at all?
Yeah, I've tried to kind of follow it, but not so much. I don't want to be like completely spoiled, but at the same time, like I'm really interested in hoping this is true. And one of the things that I saw even today that I guess another data miner, I don't know if it was the same guy or another one, guy by @other_EHM on Twitter had found some other stuff, and I guess some of the descriptions for the games have been recently updated with different languages. And stuff, kind of descriptions of the games. And so it seems like things that are going to be happening. There's like 22 games or something, and a lot of them are getting closer and closer. So I'm excited, of course. I mean, it was one of my predictions. I'm hoping that it's coming out soon. But yeah, I mean, with all this information, it's got to be real, right? I mean, there's no way to like deny it now.
So I mean, I think that's how like even like Ryu is found in like Smash Brothers for Wii U. Is like they like data mined the game and they found some of his quotes or poses or something. I don't know, but yeah,
they found the music, the victory music, and it was called Ryu, and it was very clearly Street Fighter 2 music, and there was in the same file there with Roy, because people were like, oh my god, there's Roy and there's Ryu, and that's why they were all announced together.
Yeah. So I do think it's pretty legit. I guess we just don't know any time like when it's coming or if it's coming at all. And even with the other 2 emulator things could be at least at this point in time. Obviously, if they add in some games into one of those like descriptions, then we'll probably have a clearer idea. But which consoles are you guys think they would be? Do you think they'll go handheld route, or think they'll just continue down like the main console route? Or maybe some of each.
I don't know. I feel like 64 is probably a no-brainer at some point. I mean, they have so many of them already in the emulator. I mean, I feel like it should be easy to just pop right over, because it was on like the Wii shop, so long ago. I mean, they've been doing those for a while. So I feel like 64 games are at some point a no-brainer. I don't know if they're like the next to come. I think it'd be cool to see Game Boy Advance games, but I don't know. I feel like I think probably 64 games would come next, but I don't know. What do you think, Barry?
Um, I have to imagine that something will come next, because if Nintendo honestly thinks we're just going to keep adding 2 to 3 new NES games every single week or every single month to tide people over, they're in for a very rude awakening. I think at this point people are being more lenient, in a more honeymoon phase. Like, oh, it's still new, they're still getting the system up. So they need to do something. Super Nintendo would be very easy, and very logical. People have been clamoring for GameCube. I would love GameCube. I would absolutely love GameCube, just to be able to, not for me to play certain games again, but to give newer players the ability to play some GameCube games again, because I think a lot of people they hear the GameCube library and they think immediately of Melee, like immediately like, oh, Melee GameCube, and they think of Super Mario Sunshine, and they think of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, and a lot of people forget. And Pikmin is another one. They forget that Nintendo had some really interesting IP besides Pikmin. Eternal Darkness needs to be played and brought back to life. They had a really cool one developed by N-Space called Geist. Didn't get the greatest reviews, but it was a really cool first-person shooter where you were a spirit and you could possess different things, and you had spook people to be able to possess them, and it was just a really interesting, innovative game. Chibi Robo. I mean, like, these were just some great, great titles that I think a lot of people have forgotten about or just never got the chance to play, because they're encroaching on 15 years, 20 years old. So I'd love to see them to put out GameCube, and obviously Virtual Console is dead. They've already established that. So that means these games would be free. These games would be just like the NES. And I think having a library of all these games you could play at any time and online would be huge. The last F-Zero game was GameCube. I would love a new F-Zero game, but I would at least take F-Zero GX to tide me over. That's what they need to be doing. So I really, you want 64? I mean, I really want GameCube, but I do think Super Nintendo is going to be the first one, since it's the next logical step. They've already did the SNES Classic, so why not?
Yeah.
Yep. That's the other half of my post I was going to cover. So I guess Steve kind of preluded a little bit earlier. They did say that there was like 22 or so Super Nintendo games, and I don't think I have the list of all 22, but I have the vast majority of them. It's Super Mario Kart, Super Soccer, Link to the Past, Demon's Crest, Yoshi's Island, Stunt Race FX, Kirby's Dream Course, Poppin' Twinbee, Star Fox, Star Fox 2, Contra 3, Kirby Superstar, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Kirby's Dream Land 3, Super Metroid, Super Mario World, Pilot Wings, F-Zero, Super Punch-Out, The Legend of Mystical Ninja, Super Mario All-Stars, and Breath of Fire 2. So at least those are the ones I had handy from the post that I was referencing. So I don't know if the other ones are revealed or not, but
I was trying to follow along.
That is a great list. Like,
is,
that
yeah.
is a great list.
And that's like the bulk of the games on the SNES Classic, outside of like Final Fantasy VI and some other ones that were.
Now, of that list, I heard a hidden gem, and unfortunately, this hidden gem is expensive physically now, but is one of my favorite Super Nintendo games as a kid, and that is Demon's Crest. And if they put Demon's Crest on there, it is a must-play. But I hope they also do Gargoyle's Quest 2 from the NES, because it's part of that same series. But all great games, and I'd love to see hidden gems get there, not just the big titles. So if that's real, I hope Demon's Crest is included, because that game is amazing. It's like Metroidvania, but so much better.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I was trying to follow along. I think I have the whole list as of now, and my list was in alphabetical order, so I was trying to like follow along and everything. But did you mention Contra 3? I think that's on the list as well. I think you got almost all of them. Pilot Wings, Star Fox 1 and 2. Yeah, I think you almost hit all of them. If not, yeah,
it was just like somebody had like
missed.
tweeted or something, and there was like the list of strings, and I don't know what kind of order they were in. I don't know if it's like the order that they're going to be added. I don't know. It was definitely not alphabetical, obviously.
Yeah. I think I think all of these are great games. I think the cool thing is that this list, if accurate, I mean, it seems like it is so far, that they do have, some of those standards that, you have to be on there, that things that were on the SNES Classic, but there are some more obscure games that what some people would consider obscure or hidden classics and things like that. Like Breath of Fire 2, I never played. Demon's Crest, I never played, but I heard great things about it. So it's cool to have a service like this continue to come out. And I hope the NES Online does the same thing. And as they add to it, I hope they do try to vary the games as much as possible, because this is a great way for people, even like me, who played a lot of NES and a lot of SNES games. I still didn't get to all of the great ones, especially some of those hidden gems. And if they bring those to this kind of service, that would get me playing it more, because those would be fresh and new to me. Even if the games are 30 years old, they're fresh and new to me.
Yep.
Absolutely. Now, it's interesting when we were talking about systems, Steve, you gravitated towards N64, I gravitated towards GameCube. What if they throw a curveball? What if they're like, here's Game Boy, Game Boy Color with all old Game Boy games as well? Because there's a lot of forgotten gems there too, or Game Boy Advance.
I think it'd be really cool. And what I really wonder is, I mean, they're updating these games, so I wonder, even like the original Pokemon games, can they synchronize it with the new one coming out? That'd be really cool. I don't know if they would, but if they did bring those games out and it's all in the same system, they're offering updates for these other ones by adding online features and other stuff, that I think it's possibly, it's within a realm of possibility now.
They could also throw more curveballs, throw the Virtual Boy on there, throw Game & Watches on there, I
mean, they got the games. Why not do something with them?
Exactly. They're if they want to like blow people away, like not the general public, but like their true diehard fans, if they announce they're adding Virtual Boy games and they're going to put Bound High and Dragon Hopper on there, like collectively, there will be people out there that will lose their shit, myself included. Like we have been looking for Dragon Hopper's ROM, trying to find it for years. We finally found Bound High, but the Virtual Boy community has never found Dragon Hopper. We were dying to play that game. I've been dying to play that game since 1995, when it was lately announced, and then promptly canceled in '96. But it was finished. So like they did this with Star Fox 2, right? They sat on Star Fox 2 and it was done. They have these games too. They're done. Let them go out there. Let them be played. And that's a great way. I don't know if you remember with Virtual Console, one of the big appeals they did was Sin and Punishment on the N64, because we never got the first one. And granted, they gave us the Japanese version, but they're like, hey, you can play us on your Wii. And here it is, the Japanese Sin and Punishment. You guys never got to play us. Of course, it was for Star's successor to try to drum up interest. But they're sitting on gold mines. Use them. They Earthbound Beginnings, they did that right there. Bring that back on the NES shop. And Mother 3, for the love of all that is Mother 3. Come on, like there's no better time to get this out there than right now. Here's Game Boy Advance games and Mother 3. People would collectively praise Nintendo, even though diehards have already played the fan translations. Like that would just be a huge win over the fandom, and so easy to do because they own the rights. It's not even having to go to a third party. These are their own games.
Right.
And I heard they even sent like Nintendo like the translated copy of like Mother 3 as well too.
Yeah, they said you can use ours and you don't have to pay us a dime. Just release it to the general public.
Yeah. So there you are. I mean, it makes sense. Just start releasing this stuff. I wonder what you guys think about the price. Do you think if they do eventually add SNES in there, 64 in there, possibly GameCube in there, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games, possibly DS games, who knows if they start adding their entire back catalog on there? Do you think they'll definitely increase the price? And if they do, how much is too much for this?
Well, I would think a lot more would have to come with these changes. I think if they're going to increase the price, I would think we need like dedicated servers and stuff, because haven't played Smash Online yet, but I've heard like tons of like horror stories of like lag and disconnect problems. So if they're going to be upping the price, they definitely need to be updating the actual like service and not just being like, okay, we have all these extra games. Now give us $40 a year. I mean,
the first off, the online service isn't the greatest. Like, you know, if you want to do Smash Online, the best is to do it 1v1. Doing it, you know, with 4, you get some crazy lag. But if they raise the price, it is not a wise move, at least not yet. Right now, there are still people that don't feel $20 is worth the price of admission. So they need to do this as a gesture of goodwill. They need to put these out there and say, here, we're going to put Super Nintendo out there. And maybe do even plans. Maybe do the $20 plan gets you NES and SNES. But if you do the $30 a year plan, we're going to throw in, you know, the N64 and GameCube. And you do the $40 a year plan, we're going to throw in the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. You know, something like that. I think people would be fine with, because it's like a Netflix subscription service in that sense. Where you're just getting access to all these games, and you're getting, you know, 2 to 3 games a month, but you're getting 2 to 3 games a month per system. So 2 to 3 NES games per month right now is a hard pill to swallow. Like, that's all we're getting. But if we're also getting 2 SNES games and 2 N64 games and 2 GameCube games, then, whoa, wait a minute, that's not so bad. That's really good. That gives me plenty of time. Then you honestly, if you've never played those games, you could probably not buy another game on the Switch and just play those 8-10 games every month. and they'll take you the whole month, if not more. So there's where the value comes in. Yeah. But if they say, here's Super Nintendo, $30 a month right off the bat, or $30 a year, I mean, right off the bat, people are not going to be happy.
Yeah.
You're going to see even more pitchforks.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they do increase the price, they've got to increase like across the board. I don't think it, like you guys have said, it's not just worth the price of them increasing it just to get SNES games on there as well, or GameCube or 64 or any of that stuff. I think that'd be cool. Maybe GameCube if they get to that point, but they've got to increase the stability and all this other stuff on there as well, and give us a better, you know, just a better experience overall if they're going to increase the price that much.
Now, what I want to see is, will they do N64 Joy-Cons, you know, with them actually, like, when you slide them on, they have the 3 prongs sticking out. Yeah. That would look ridiculous.
I would buy those in a heartbeat. I really love them.
I would too.
Controller.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd use 64 or the SNES controllers over the NES for sure. But what did you do for the 64 controller?
You know, see, I can see them doing the Super Nintendo Joy-Cons like the NES ones, and that'd be fine. Yeah. But the N64, you know, they would probably do something like the GameCube adapter. Like, they're not going to be GameCube Joy-Cons. They have a GameCube adapter. They'd probably just reissue that.
Although there's so many people, especially for Smash, like, it'd be great to have a GameCube Joy-Cons that slide on the side. I'd play it in handheld a lot more if that was the case.
Well, that would be different. The NES Joy-Cons don't do that. The NES Joy-Cons can't play it.
Right. They need to be functional.
Could you imagine NES functional and the Super Nintendo functional like that? That would be amazing.
It'd be great for sure. I think that's the biggest thing is like that I've realized on the old games, and one of the reasons why I've thought about getting those controllers is I don't like that you can't customize the controls on the NES Online. I want to switch to Y and B, like for my main buttons for A and B. I want to switch to Y and B and not B and A. Like mentally I can't compute that way. I have to play on, I think it's X and Y gives me kind of that, or X and A or whatever. Yeah, but it's weird to have my thumb a little higher. It's like this mental like memory that I want my thumb down there, and I want those buttons like this, and so I'm surprised they haven't at least updated the NES Online to be able to customize your controls so far, at least to switch it, because you could on Virtual Console games and stuff, you could like just switch it on the Wii U, or on the Wii U. So it'd be great if just to update that. And
it's Steve, they're not doing it because they want you to buy the $60 NES Joy-Cons.
That's true. I'm holding it wrong. It's an old iPhone Apple thing, right? I'm holding it wrong. That's what's going on. Oh man,
my empty box.
There you go.
I was crazy enough to import the Famicom ones too, because they looked really sweet.
The Famicom ones would be really cool.
They actually have the microphone that works, and it actually works with the US Zelda ROM. Like, you can blow into it to kill Paul's voice.
Nice. Can you use it for This is a real thing then. So when you're playing Fortnite online, can you use it as your microphone for the game?
I haven't tried, but I don't think you're really gonna play well with the D-pad and 2 buttons.
True. Good point. But at least you don't have to use your phone to chat online. Boy, I'm not gonna get over that. Anything else about this SNES rumors? We think it's gonna happen really soon?
I don't know. It almost kind of seems like it could lead from like a January direct that they normally have. So I don't know. I know Barry had a little bit more to comment about all these announcements, so maybe that's an awesome segue over that way.
Look at that. It's almost like we planned it.
Almost.
Oh man.
Yeah, so normally there is a January direct. We all expected it. We listened to our last podcast. We were talking, and January has come, and it's almost over, and there hasn't been a January direct. However, the week that we recorded our podcast, suddenly a whole bunch of announcements came out of nowhere. It was like woke up and boom, 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 like the trailers and everything. It looked like a Nintendo Direct Mini that just didn't happen. So they just said, here's all the information we were going to announce, which is just really weird. I don't know why it didn't happen, but it's what we have to kind of take as our January Direct. So they did a couple things. I'm going to go through what was released and what was announced both that day and since a couple things since that day, and we'll just go over what you guys like about or what you don't like or what you're excited or not. And another thing that leads this to mean like, oh, this is a January Direct. Usually January Direct covers things for winter and early spring, and everything that was announced is coming out March or April. So that fits, again, the description of a January Direct. So Nintendo announced Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn for the 3DS, the only 3DS game on this list, will release March 8th of this year. Yoshi's Crafted World will release on the 29th of March, with, again, a new trailer was shown. Final Fantasy 12 was announced by Square to come on the 16th of March. They also announced Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD will be on the 16th of April. However, there is now rumors that they're pulling a Nintendo here and a Capcom here, where Final Fantasy X is on the card and X-2 is a digital code, which pisses me off. But maybe the Japanese version will be in English. Capcom, speaking of, announced Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen is coming to the Switch. That is coming on the 23rd of April. And in a surprise announcement, Bandai is bringing Super Dragon Ball Heroes to America and physical release. GameCube, GameStop, and Amazon already have pre-orders up. That's coming on the 9th of April. And finally, was announced early, with much to the dismay of our former host Hassan, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid will be releasing on all platforms in April of 2019, but that looks to be sadly digital only. What do you guys, Steve, what do you think about that list? Zach, have you excited? Is that enough for a direct? Do you think they made the right decision just releasing that stuff separately, or what?
Yeah. I think it was better. If that's all they had to announce, I am glad they didn't do a direct. But they do have some of those like mini directs sometimes that are just like, bam, 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 here's the next stuff, and it's no big deal. It's just kind of a quick, here's their launch dates and stuff like that. But I don't really think that those, in my opinion, I don't think those really do. It's not worth their time. If it's games like that, for me, none of those really like stood out to me. I think Kirby or Yoshi, I think those are great games. Those are, but it's not their like top tier game sort of thing. It's not the one that's going to be, I don't think, really system sellers. They're going to be cool things for a lot of people that have it already. But I don't think anybody's going to go out and get a Switch because of those games, or maybe any of those really. I think for me, I like to see the big hoopla around the big announcements, stuff that like really changed some stuff and get really a lot of people excited. A lot of these dates, games we knew were coming already. We just got release dates for them, or we got a little more information about them. You know, a couple announcements and everything, but nothing that really excited me. So I think if we did have a direct and these were the announcements, I would have been left feeling, you know, like it wasn't really worth my time.
What about you, Greg?
I don't know. My main take on it is like the January Direct has always managed to like drop like some huge bombshells. It was like, oh, here's like the announcement of like I mean, they even did it like with I think Breath of the Wild, like what was it 4 years ago? Like I know it like took so long for the game to come out, but they like revealed it like so early, and like I know they've had a number of like bombshells in previous January Directs, like oh my gosh, this game's coming, and it was. I think they did the same with Yoshi's Woolly World and um, stuff for like the Wii U when we had all those huge droughts and everything. So, I mean, obviously, I could have seen a lot of this stuff as more like the filler stuff that like you normally are seeing or expecting. But then I also feel like we missed out on getting like those groundbreaking announcements, like, oh, by the way, here's a surprise game that's in development. Like, oh, we're doing another Zelda game, and oh, here's like the upcoming Mario Kart game. I mean, they are missing like an opportunity to really drop like some major hype for the system after like the holiday and get people like really buzzing about the Switch. So I really hope this wasn't a replacement and just a mere just like get the info dump out of the way, and maybe they can have a shorter direct focused on a lot more games that are upcoming in the upcoming months. So
Oh, you're muted, Barry.
I'm sure there's going to be a direct before E3, which is June. So I think there will be at least one. But what about the games coming out? Any of those that were announced for March and April? Like that's a good chunk of games for those 2 months. Anything like there, Greg grabs you and says, "I need to get this."
Definitely Yoshi's Crafted World. I've been excited about that since they've announced it. So I've always been a huge fan of Yoshi and his games. I've actually like pretty much completed just about all of his different games except for Woolly World because that came out too close to Mario Maker. But I have beat all of his other games, and I'm definitely excited to pick up Crafted World and play through that. I did want to check out some of the Final Fantasy games because being a Nintendo only gamer, I've missed out on all these Final Fantasy games since 6. So at least mainline games, I know there's lots of spin-off games, but I'm not usually one to play a lot of the spin-off games without like some context. So there is that part of it. So yes, I know there are Final Fantasy games on platforms, but not mainline games since 6.
Yeah. I agree with the Yoshi stuff. I think I wasn't too excited, but the more I see about it, actually, I'm getting pretty excited about it. And I totally forgot about the thing where you can kind of play the levels backwards and like flip them around and everything. And that's a cool mechanic, I think. And the game looks really pretty. I don't know. Do you guys think they added too much texture to Yoshi in Crafted World? I feel like it's almost like too much, but maybe that's just my preference.
I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like the Paper Mario aesthetic, and I've really grown to really like that kind of art style. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of fine with it, but I'm also kind of used to those Paper Mario games. So
Right. I do think I forgot about the Final Fantasy games. Are these the full versions of those games? Because I know it's 14 is supposed to be the mobile version. I think that's right. So this is
No,
12
15. 15
okay.
is the mobile version, but no, 12 is the remaster, the Zodiac Age, and 10 and 10-2 are the HD remasters. So yeah, they are the complete full games, the proper numbered series games, and well worth playing. Worth playing.
Since you're well versed in Final Fantasy, of the 3, which one would you recommend picking up first?
Well, of the 3, I could tell you 10-2 is the weakest, but it gets a better rap. I personally enjoyed 10 more overall than 12. However, I only played the original 12. I did not play Zodiac Age, which they added some stuff. 12 is very much like a political / Star Wars Final Fantasy. It's more in that realm, where 10 is more traditional Final Fantasy. 12 also uses 11's battle system, where it's not really turn-based anymore. You run around and you just attack in the environment, versus like 10 uses a turn-based system. Of the two, again, it really depends on what you like. You can't go wrong. They both have great cast of characters. And if you get 10, you also get 10 too, which again is not a bad game. It's just different. So if you like 10 and you wind up playing through 10, you don't need to worry about 10 too. You don't finish games. So I guess the point is moot. But if you happen to finish it with the vein of the story's not over, there is a 10 too, then you can get that. And you can use that same strategy with 12, because 12 actually does have a sequel, Revenant Wings, which came out on the DS. So you can use that as well. The story doesn't end there.
That's cool. I didn't realize that Revenant Wings was connected to that. So that's cool.
Well, it's called Final Fantasy 12 Revenant Wings.
Yeah, I hear it called Revenant Wings before more than I do 12. So
yeah, it is a sequel. It's a different type of game, but it is a sequel.
Cool. Any of those that you're particularly excited about?
For me, well, I mean, I'll be getting them all, at least the physical versions. For me, I mean, I'm excited for Yoshi, for sure. But I think I'm most excited for Super Dragon Ball Heroes, simply because I never expected this to come to America. And when I found out the Asian release was going to feature English, I was like, okay, I'm going to just import that. Because there's other Dragon Ball Heroes games and none of them have come to America. But to have it come to America and get a physical release is amazing, and just shows that Dragon Ball is on top right now. So I loved Xenoverse 2. I love Dragon Ball Fighters, both on the Switch. So and it's like a card game. It's interesting. It's like a card game, but it's like Heroes series is very much like fan fiction. It has, movie villains and GT villains and Z villains. It's just, I'm excited to give it a shot. So it may not be the greatest game in the world, but I'm just excited that America is not getting forgotten.
Nice. Is anybody excited about Power Rangers other than Hassan?
I'm excited about that too, but I wish it was physical. But again, I understand they're adding characters. A lot of fighting games are doing this. We're going to release you a base game with a few characters, and then we're just going to add characters afterwards. But yeah, I'm excited. Maybe I'll get a code or something, and Hassan and I can battle or something.
There we go.
They need to do the ultimate route and give you like 80 characters and then start charging for extra characters. That's what I think. I'd really hate to get like Mortal Kombat, like, oh, it just comes with like Scorpion and Sub-Zero. But if you want like Smoke and Raiden and Sonya, then you have to pay us another $20 for fighter passes, and then another $20 for like Jax and all these like.
Yeah, that's one thing that got me. Like, I love Final Fantasy, and I love the Dissidia Final Fantasy games. And the first two on PSP were great. And I got NT on the PS4, and I got the download pass. And they're like, we're going to have like 30 to 40 characters when this game, or 40 plus characters when it ends, or something like that. I'm like, oh, that's so great. And they're adding 6 characters with the first download pass. And the game did not catch fire like they thought it was going to be. So I'm like, oh, they're probably just going to end it here. And there's characters cut. I hate when a characters get cut from a series, like a fighting series. Like when Brawl came out and they cut characters from Melee, that pissed me off. And when Smash 4 came out and they cut characters from Melee and Brawl, that still pissed me off. Like, if you're going to do some kind of like fighter like this, like a crossover fighter, use the base and keep adding on. And Dissidia, again, the first one had its baseline characters, and Dissidia Duodecim actually took that baseline and added, which is a great philosophy. It's a crossover. NT does not. It cuts characters, adds new characters. Like, just take the roster and keep adding. People have already established, liking a certain character, or they main a certain character in a fighting game. Don't rob them of that. You're just robbing a possible sale, because you might piss someone off. So I hate when fighters do that, and I can see Power Rangers doing that too. Like, here's the baseline. We're gonna add in new characters every few months, and if it catches fire, then great. And if it doesn't catch fire, then they'll be like, we promised you every single character ever, but now you're not gonna get that. It's gonna fall short. Game is dead. Have fun. Bye. And I hate seeing games wind up incomplete.
Yeah. I think the biggest one for me are fighting games that do that. I think is the worst. Like, not only that, but a little bit what you were talking about, Greg. I mean, like, because fighting games, at least like the true fighters, are like, like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat and stuff, there's not really much game there other than the basic idea, the fighting game. And so like I already feel like I'm kind of being gypped for like $60 game when I can have a game that I can play for hundreds of hours if I choose to, like, you know, Xenoblade or Zelda or anything like that if I'm Barry, and play for hundreds of hours. But like I don't play hundreds of hours of a fighting game, and if I did, it'd be the same thing over and over and over again. It's just fighting over and over and over again. And I'm not downplaying necessarily all the effort that goes into those games. I know that's a lot of effort and everything, but I feel like the level is different. And to do that and then add extra characters that you have to pay $10-$20 on top of that, like you're just stealing my money at this point, and kind of just taking advantage of people in that way. And yeah, I'd rather them come out with a lot of characters to start with and maybe add bonus stuff later, but to cut the roster down and then add them back in for even extra money, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's terrible. I mean, one prime example of doing that recently is Dragon Ball FighterZ, mentioned before. It's the only game in the whole Dragon Ball series that you actually have to pay to play as Goku and Vegeta. The main characters, you have to pay to play as base level Goku and Vegeta. You get the higher level ones, but if you want to play base level, you got to buy them. And it's like, these are the main characters. That's like playing a Mario game and then having to buy Mario. Like, what? No.
Right. Oh man. So do you guys think are we going to get anything? I mean, we only got 8 days left in the month, like 9 days. I can't do subtraction in my head, but not much time left. I mean, is it in traditional fashion? Are we going to get a direct announcement tonight after we done with the podcast, and it's going to be live tomorrow morning, or is this pretty much it? And we're going to maybe get one in a couple months. What do you think, Greg?
I don't know. I'm really hoping to wake up and see that email saying like, "Oh, on Thursday we'll be broadcasting next Nintendo Direct." But I don't know. I'm really hoping for, because like I said, they've really had some awesome bombshells dropped in the January Direct, and I would definitely welcome it. I mean, I know they would spend some time summing up a lot of the news that Barry just covered, like, oh, by the way, like Yoshi's Crafted World is coming out in March, and it's like, wow, we already knew that. Who cares? But overall, I would love to actually see it, because then we can get a bigger picture of some games that they can go more into at E3 and stuff like that, like trailers and whatnot. So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, they could just hit it really quick and then kind of move on to the big stuff that we don't know about yet. I don't know. What do you think, Barry? Going to happen, or
Nope.
is that leaks and all that stuff? It's just that was all this.
It wasn't leaks. It was all released.
Well,
no, I think what they did
Power Rangers. That's about it. But yeah,
yeah, I think they looked at it and said, "This is the information we have. We can do a Nintendo Direct. We can do a Nintendo Direct Mini, and people will be upset. People will be like, there was no big thing. This wasn't announced." So instead of getting people's hopes up, because they hear Nintendo Direct, they expect surprises. They're just like, you know what? Let's just drop what we drop, and we'll save any big announcement for an April Direct or a March Direct or something like that. I really would be surprised if there was a January Direct at this point, because there would be no reason to release the stuff. Even if they have, let's say, 2 big surprises and a few other smaller announcements, the stuff they announced that already came out would be perfect for that Direct to help pad it out. Because you can't go into a Direct expect surprise everything. You need padding. You need other release date information. You need more information on games that you already know about. And like a couple of these games, Dragon's Dogma was never announced. Super Dragon Ball Heroes wasn't announced. Power Rangers wasn't announced. These were games announcements. These would have been surprises, like, oh, what the? This is actually coming. Like, especially like Dragon's Dogma. Like, whoa, that's a big RPG. Like that's surprising to see hit the Switch. This is some support from Capcom. This is a good thing. So I really think we're not going to see anything until at least March, because they want to play with expectations. They do not want to disappoint people, and I think they're starting to learn. Like, hey, if we're going to use the term Nintendo Direct, people are going to expect big things. Even if it's just one big thing, they need that one big thing. And if you look at this year, there's so many games that potentially will come out. Yoshi, which is one of the ones listed, Animal Crossing and Metroid and possibly Pikmin and Bayonetta 3 and Fire Emblem and Pokemon, and like all these titles. it's like, whoa, wait a minute. There's still Town, and just there's a couple more I'm probably forgetting. That's already a huge list. That's already a huge, awesome, fantastic 2019. So if there's any surprises, that's going to be great. But I think if they just said, here's the release date for all these are coming in 2019, like, people would be ecstatic. Like, that would be enough. But we have to expect at least 1 or 2 surprises. So they're saving stuff for E3. We know this. This is Nintendo. That's what they do. I can see them doing at least an early announcement, some surprise in March, and then the rest saving for E3. But I wouldn't expect anything more.
So just one Nintendo Direct between now and E3, and that's it?
That's one traditional Direct. They might have like a Labo Direct for a new Labo, or they might have a 3DS Direct, or maybe even a N64 Mini Direct kind of deal, or a Nintendo Online service update with the Super Nintendo games or whatever Direct. But in terms of a traditional Direct, I say only one between now and E3. That's my prediction.
That makes sense. Like everybody in the chat saying Pikmin 4, I would love them to announce Pikmin 4 and we actually see some something about the game be awesome as well. They've got so much, like you said. Do you think, Greg, like Barry's saying, do you think they're gonna put a lot more eggs in their basket in terms of E3 announcements this year, and just gonna kind of trickle out stuff, maybe one big Nintendo Direct, and then throw a lot at E3 this year?
I don't know. They really haven't been doing a lot of that recently. It's like we usually go into E3 kind of already knowing a lot of the games that they have, and then, I mean, I know Super Mario Party was kind of like one of the big announcements last year, but I mean, that's like one of the very few that was actually like there. So
well, that's because they spent a lot of time on Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was even trying to jump in there. I mean, they can still have those surprises and be like, oh, here's the second DLC fighter for Smash, and that still drums up excitement. It's still a surprise. It's like still everything that people are really expecting.
But is there a reason to do that this early? Next month we have Piranha Plant, and we know Joker still hasn't even started development. So they can do one in March or April, a month or two after Piranha Plant, and say, here's the second new fighter, and here's Joker's release date. And that alone would drum up attention. They don't need, Smash came out in December. They don't need to drum up new attention for Smash in January. It still has that momentum going.
Unless they, I mean, I wonder if they would focus. I mean, is Piranha Plant and maybe some DLC announcements enough to focus a mini direct on? Like, could that be kind of like their focus is like, here's some updates on the DLC characters, here's some other information, tie it up in 10 minutes and be done?
I mean, I would think so, but yeah. I mean,
no. There'll be more. I really think when Smash, what they're going to do is they're going to do something for Smash. I think there's going to be free DLC. I think there's more than just the DLC fighters. I think there'll be free DLC in terms of echoes, or free DLC in terms of content, like Break the Targets. And I think these will come out at the same time as the paid DLC characters, just to drum up more interest. And they can keep that interest going for the whole year with very little announcements.
Nice. Jakester's still holding off for Rex in Smash 4, so.
So am I. Rex.
It's not
Rex.
not Smash 4. I said Smash 4. Smash Ultimate. He's still holding off for Rex and Smash 4 probably too, but like a lot of people are. But yeah.
Rex has to be there. If Rex, I think, will be a free DLC character. They openly acknowledge that people want him. They openly acknowledge that. So the fact that they did that means that he will be there. If he's not there this year, he will be there eventually.
Yeah. It's only time will tell, as always, of course. But we'll see. I mean, if it's not announced tomorrow morning, if you don't wake up and see a Nintendo Direct tomorrow morning, it's probably going to happen after our next podcast on February 4th or at some point. So at some point we'll get that next Nintendo Direct. And they've been a little more stingy with them lately, but we'll see. We do want to let you guys know, remind you guys that that we do love having comments from you guys. Like I said earlier in the chat room, connect with us on social media and everything as well. You can also send in your questions to podcast@nintendofuse.com, and we'd love to address your questions in future podcasts. That'd be awesome. Before we close out today, what's some games that you guys are excited about playing over the next couple of weeks? Greg, anything big that you're excited about?
No, I mean, I was actually looking through the list and nothing was really jumping out to me. I know I still need to order the Smash Brothers pass or the Fighter Pass, but I was kind of looking at the other games to see if there's something else I can pick up, and nothing was really shooting out to me. Like, oh, check this game out. So, big pass for me this time around.
Did you at least register your game to get Piranha Plant for free?
I did. Like the day that I got it, I was like trying to figure it out. And the physical copy, they make it so convoluted now. I thought it was just like they put in a code in the box, and I was like, I got a glitched thing. I don't have a code. In the
No,
box.
you gotta push start or plus.
Yeah, that's like I even like wrote feedback to Nintendo saying like this is ridiculous. I mean, I did find like something, I don't know, it was on Twitter or forum or something that said like, oh, if you actually like hit like X and then you can like go into like registered game or something like that, like some backhanded way. I was like, okay.
Yeah. That needs to be done by the end of the month. Is that right?
Yeah, it had to be done by January 31st before if you want to get Piranha Plant.
So consider this your warning. If you haven't registered your copy of Smash Brothers, do by the end of January 2019 so you can get Piranha Plant. The more I think about it, the more I'm excited about Piranha Plant. So I'm pumped for him to come out. It's so out there that I'm just like I'm glad it's free, and I've already got the Fighter Pass and everything. Would have been included anyhow, but it's going to be kind of crazy, and I'm excited about it. Barry, any games coming out next couple of weeks you're particularly excited about?
Honestly, I'm not even really sure at this point because I just get the emails like, "Oh, this is coming." I'm like, "Oh, okay." But no, I'll be busy with Travis Strikes Again and Final Fantasy 14 and Dragalia Lost as my main games to play, and they'll carry me to the next podcast. But who knows? Maybe I'll finish that and I'll start like Undertale, which is one of my best friends has been bugging me to play. So maybe I'll do that.
Nice. The one game that I'm interested in, I was looking over the list and I don't think I realized that this was announced or I've missed it or I forgot it. I don't know. Was Smite is coming to Switch, I think next week, or maybe just a few days or something like that. I have never played it. I had a physical copy that I think I got from one of the early PAX East that they gave us a physical copy of it, and never installed it on my computer or anything like that. I know it's a huge game, lots of big fans and everything, and it's free to play as well. So I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll finally figure out what Smite's all about. And so it's free to play, so I'll definitely at least download it and check it out. But that was really good.
Dragalia Lost. What? Sorry.
I tried that one for 5 minutes, but there's a lot of games out there for sure. And maybe I'll try this. I'll try Smite for 5 minutes and we'll see.
I think the 5 minutes was spent downloading the game.
It was all the updates afterwards. No, man, I'm so glad we're past all the games. One time I played, I tried World of Warcraft. I think it was like after it'd been out for like several years, and I finally decided to try it one time and got a physical copy of it. I heard I knew anything about it, and I install it on my computer and everything back, when you get discs, and put it in and install it. And then I had like horrible internet, and the next thing I knew, I'm like downloading updates for like 2 days straight for World of Warcraft. I played it for like maybe 2 hours and deleted it, and it was like, this is not worth my time. Ended up somewhere where I should not have been as a starting character, died and didn't really know what I was doing after that, and realized this is not worth my time. So
see, I didn't play WoW, but I think in all my MMO experience, that is the best part of MMOs, is the not knowing. It's the whole beginning and not knowing what to do, and just exploring and just exploring a world that you have no idea what's going on, and figuring it out. And even if you're not sure of what's going on, I think that allure of unknowing is just so great. Like when I first started Final Fantasy 11 back in 2004, and I started with a friend, and we were out there level 1, 2, 3, and my friend dies, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. Like, how do I get you up? So I run into town and I'm shouting like, who's got a Phoenix down? I need a Phoenix down because that's what Final Fantasy games have, Phoenix down. So like, who's got? And people are like sending me Mattels and like no, there is no Phoenix downs in this game. I'm like, what do you mean there's no Phoenix Downs? It's a Final Fantasy game. How does this not have Phoenix Downs? Like, I had no idea what to do. Meanwhile, my friend is still out there dead. Like, save me, And I found out, you have to have a healer to raise them, or they just hit the home point and lose experience. And I'm like, oh man, sorry, I can't raise you because I don't know what to do. But it's just like that naivety. I think is so great with an MMO because it is a new world. It is literally like being birthed and thrust into this world, and you have no idea what's going on. And it creates some fun times and meet some new people that way. So
that's true.
You shouldn't have quit that way. You should have looked at it as experience of, you know what, I'm gonna get to that zone wherever I died. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna kill whatever killed me, but I'm gonna go a different way first.
That could have worked, and if it was free to play, I probably would have. But I knew I didn't want to be spending that much money on a game I wasn't sure about yet. But free to play games, I'm all in to try them.
Check out your loss.
That
Sorry,
kind of
what?
stuff. I don't think it's either of those are MMOs.
Actually, Dragalia Lost is as close to an MMO without being an MMO, like on the phone, like as close as you're getting. It is virtually an MMO.
All right. I don't know. I was almost into one of the Star Wars MMOs one time. I had some coworkers that were into it, and they were like talking about it all the time. And I was really close to getting it. And the next thing I know, they're like the next day they're complaining about all the updates and like, I'm quitting this game because it's horrible now. I'm like, woo, dodge that one.
That had been Star Wars Galaxies.
I think so. Yeah.
That's probably why I really liked Breath of the Wild, because it was just like you can do your own experience. It felt like an MMO, but you were just by yourself. So that's why I really love the original Legend of Zelda as well too, because you just place down there and it's like you go anywhere you want to go. If you want to go to tackle the hardest stuff first, you could do that.
Exactly, and that same adventure, that same allure is there.
Yeah. I'm so pumped for the next Star Wars. I mean, they are not Star Wars. That's entirely different. I read Jakester's stuff in the chat and they threw me off. He was talking about the Star Wars game, the Galaxies game. I'm kind of pumped for the next Star Wars. That's another topic for another day. Last Jedi. But anyhow, the next Zelda game. Yeah, I mean, if they keep on going in that way, like just expand upon that, it's gonna be so great. Because I think that's what kind of got me sidetracked. In addition to how I feel about completing games, like just Zelda was awful and cool all at the same time, because there are so many things that could get you sidetracked. And the next thing I know, like I'm off to fight the next, beast or whatever and get some stuff. And then the next thing I know, I'm climbing up a mountain because I'm like, what's up here? And then I was like 3 hours later, I'm like, oh, what was I doing again? Oh, right. That beast. And then, I get sidetracked all the time because there's so much to do and so much to explore.
So what you're telling me, Steve, is I need to get you a friend pass into Final Fantasy 14 so you could join me.
Maybe.
There's a subscription.
Get him on the front code into Dragalia Lost.
I tried. I've tried. He should join Dragalia Lost.
I haven't even opened Pokemon yet.
You don't have to open Dragalia Lost. You just hit the download button on here.
It's downloaded. It's on my iPhone, but.
Or you can boot up Torna again and keep going, knowing that it's not.
Honestly, like Torna is going to happen before I even try Dragalia Lost again. That's for sure. Like, I will definitely beat Torna before I even try Dragalia Lost again. So.
Hey, look, Greg, look, it's a losing battle. We can't help it that Steve has terrible taste in video games. We just can't. It's a losing battle.
All right, well, look at the time. it's time to wrap this up. Oh, guys, thanks for checking us out. If you're new to NintendoFuse, make sure you do subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe to all the podcasts as well on your podcast app of choice. We're pretty much on all the different platforms out there: iTunes to Stitcher to TuneIn Radio to pretty much everything that's out there. So make sure you do subscribe. And if you are on YouTube, hit that bell to be alerted with every new video we post, every time we go live, any of that stuff. Make sure you do hit that bell to be alerted, and be sure to like the videos, throw all your comments down there, throw us thoughts about that, send us questions for the next podcast at podcast@nintendofuse.com. Follow us on social media. We want to connect with you guys other than just our podcast. We would love to connect with you guys throughout the weeks. We're going to be having more game chats and interviews and reviews and gameplay videos, and we're going to try to stream a lot more. I've been talking to Blake, and him and I are going to try to do a little more streaming on our channel. I know Mike does from time to time as well. So got a lot of content coming up, and we would love for you guys to check it out. And you know what? We've been talking about it on our social media as well. Here's the deal. We know that there's a lot of content and stuff out there that we just don't have, honestly, the time to cover it all. And we know a lot of you guys have been tuning in, watching us on YouTube, or checking out the podcast, reading our blog for a long time. And maybe there's some of you guys out there that are like, you know what? I'd love to be a part of the NintendoFuse team. Guess what? You guys can. We actually have an online application on our Facebook page right now, and we're looking for news writers. We're looking for some video editors and some other people to contribute to the site. And so if you're interested in that, make sure you do apply, and we'll definitely be in touch. It'd be awesome to add you to the team. Greg, Barry, thanks so much for joining us for episode 166. We'll be back again on February 4th with episode 167. And it's been great to talk video games with you guys again tonight. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. See you later. Thanks for having me.